Hey everybody, how you doing here? How you doing there? This is Mr. Elliott. Hope you're having a great day. If you're watching this on Thursday, hope you're having a good Thursday night. If you're watching this on Friday, you're pretty close to the weekend. Good for you. Anyway, today we're going to be working with some law of cosines. And it's a little bit more complicated than law of sines. Let's take a look at it. If we have this right triangle ABC with sides A, B, and C, the opposite sides. There are three versions of law of cosines. There's the A squared variety. That's equal to B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine A. There's the B squared variety, where it's A squared plus C squared minus 2AC cosine B. And then there's the C squared variety, A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine C. I've only memorized the A squared one, and then based off the A squared, I figure out the B and the C. I noticed that A squared equals B squared plus C squared looks just like the Pythagorean theorem. And then after that's always going to be some kind of minus, then a 2, the same two letters that we used here, B, C, and then cosine of the same angle of the side that you're looking for. The same pattern. So the B squared uses the A and the C and the cosine B, and the C squared uses the A and the B with the cosine C. The best time to use law of cosines, or maybe the only time to use law of cosines, is triangles like you see here when you have a side angle side example for number 1, or a side 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 example for number 2. Let's do the side angle side one first. This is kind of the typical situation, and in a side angle side, you can use law of cosines to find that opposite side. So in this particular case, it's x squared equals the squaring of the other two sides, so 18 squared plus 12 squared minus 2 times that 18 times the 12 times cosine of that angle, and in this particular case the angle opposite that side is cosine 47. And you might ask for an exact answer and a decimal approximation. Well, the exact is just going to be the square root of all this stuff. 18 squared plus 12 squared minus 2 times 18 times 12 times cosine 47. That is the exact. You don't have to worry about the positive negative because we're talking a triangle here. The decimal approximation. When I run this into my calculator, the first thing I want to do is make sure that I'm in degree mode, and I am. And you know, you can do all this in one shot. You just go square root of, it does the parentheses, 18 squared plus 12 squared minus 2 times 18 times 12 times cosine of 47, close parentheses, hit enter, and I got an answer of 13.167, and it would have to be feet. Alright, and that is the exact and the decimal approximation. And that's side angle side, and you'd use that to find a missing side. Now side, 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 you'd have to use this to find a missing angle. Now, there's something that's really important here, and it's not just really important, it's super duper mega important. And that's that you must find the largest angle first. The reason is that if you find the reason, side, 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 because it's side, 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 it means there's only one solution. Now this triangle, it might be an acute triangle, or it might be an obtuse triangle. If it's an acute triangle, if you do not find the largest angle first, you might get it wrong. But you wouldn't get it wrong in the first step, you'd get it wrong on the second step. And that's something I'll talk with the advanced people about. But if you're just into the normal, just make sure you follow this lesson and you find the largest angle first. And in this particular picture, that largest angle is this one, so I'm going to label this X. And if I'm looking for this angle, the side opposite it is the 8, so that would be my A in this case. So 8 squared equals 6 squared plus 7 squared minus 2 times 6 times 7 times cosine X. And it might ask for an exact answer, probably will ask for an exact answer. And let's see, you need to isolate the cosine X and then do a cosine inverse. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract the 6 squared and the 7 squared. So I'd have 8 squared minus 6 squared minus 7 squared equals this negative 2 times 6 times 7 times cosine X. I'm not even figuring out any of these numbers at this point. I then divide everything by this negative 2 times 6 times 7, and I end up with cosine X equals 8 squared minus 6 squared minus 7 squared all over negative 2 times 6 times 7, which means that X is equal to, you do cosine inverse of both sides, and when you do cosine inverse of both sides, this X will be left by itself, and on the other side you'd be left with cosine inverse of all this stuff. So 8 squared minus 6 squared minus 7 squared all over negative 2 times 6 times 7. And I can get to an exact answer, and you need to understand your rules of algebra, but you don't need to know what h squared is. That's kind of nice. You could then put all this into your calculator, and be careful. This is how I tend to do these ones. I do the numerator first, so I do 8 squared minus 6 squared minus 7 squared. It's going to give me an answer. It's probably going to be negative. Well, it will be negative because of this whole thing. So it's all this, which works out to be negative 21, I guess, divided by, parentheses, negative 2 times 6 times 7, close parentheses. So I have that, 0.25, and it's cosine inverse of that. So cosine inverse of that previous answer, and I got 75.522 degrees. And that found me that angle. Once I did that, I could then do law of cosines here and get this angle, and I could do law of cosines here and get this angle. Or once you have an angle, you could then start using law of sines to find the missing angles. But anyway, that's for the next lesson when we're completely solving these triangles. The only thing that's different between the advanced and the normals is that if you're normal, you must always find the largest angle first. If you're advanced, you do not have to follow this rule, and I'll talk more about that tomorrow. But it's actually a really good rule of thumb. Always find that largest angle first. Anyway, that's all I have for you, everybody. I hope you have yourself a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.